the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private healthcare affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many other services, contact us for more information at 235-5479.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really want
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'll ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
WESN.
AM Prime on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish.
And I'm Jada McLeod.
And welcome again.
Yeah, it's AM Prime.
Yes, today is a very special day. As we all know, it's election day 2025, general election. So the show this morning
would be adjusted accordingly. So we don't have any interviews scheduled for today as we are observing the national election. So we adjusted our schedule accordingly and we will resume interviews for the rest of the week. But today we are going to be, as per usual, keeping you guys informed. So we have some videos and some discussions that we'll be having amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
And of course, we welcome you to engage with us, as always, on our YouTube, on our Facebook, on our website, WESN. And yeah, let's hear from you as we go throughout these updates.
Yeah, so we're going to start first with some international news to just keep you in the loop. The first
video would be about, I don't know if you guys know, but Luigi Mangione. We both love that name. But Luigi Mangione is a 26-year-old former Ivy League graduate, and he has pleaded not guilty to federal charges in the December 2024 murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. So if you haven't heard anything about it so far, please go now and take a look.
Charged with murdering a healthcare insurance company chief executive in New York last year, has pleaded not guilty as he was arraigned in a federal court. Ahead of the hearing, US prosecutors filed a formal notice seeking the death penalty for the 26-year-old. They argue that Mangione killed Brian Thompson to amplify an ideological message and to spark resistance to the health insurance industry. Well, let's cross live now to New York and join our North America correspondent, Neda Tawfiq, who is following the case. Neda, just bring us up to date then with what's happened today.
Yeah, well, of course, today was all about Mangione being arraigned formally on those federal charges, 4 in total, 2 of stalking, 1 of murder, 1 of firearms offense. And wearing a tan prison jumpsuit, the judge had him stand and asked him how he pleaded. And Luigi Mangione said he pleaded not guilty. After that kind of formal arraignment in court, though, we got into other matters that the defense raised, and it became increasingly clear as dates were discussed about the exchange of different evidence and motions that this trial would not take place any earlier than 2026.
Okay, so just talk us through then what happens next.
Well, one of the big issues that came up was surrounding the death penalty, because remember, earlier this month, the Attorney General Pam Bondi put out a press release saying that she had directed prosecutors to seek the death penalty, Actually, the day before this court date here, prosecutors formally filed notice that they would seek the death penalty. And the defense wants that to be prevented. They say that Pam Bondi has made statements that didn't even suggest that Luigi Mangione was presumed innocent until found guilty, and that had indelibly prejudiced his right to a fair trial. And so the judge gave the defense until a little bit later in June to file motions to make arguments for why the death penalty shouldn't be allowed in this case. So on one end, the defense wants to prevent the death penalty, but on the other hand, they also argue today that they want the federal case to happen before the state case. That would be a reversal from what we understood would happen, and they simply said that because capital punishment is on the table now, they want this federal case to take precedent. So what we heard, Ben, was that this is all going to kind of play out over the next few months. Those arguments will be exchanged, the government will respond, but the next kind of court date on the books at the moment isn't until December, and that's when we might get a better look at when this trial will be scheduled.
Okay, Neda, thank you very much indeed. Neda Shawfik there, our North America correspondent, live in New York.
So yes, this case has ignited public outrage, public demonstrations, supporters rallying outside of the courthouse, portraying Mangione as what they call a political prisoner. Some people even add that he's being portrayed in this light that is unfair, or that makes it seem like he's this bad guy. But school shooters don't even get that type of treatment. And wherever you lie on that spectrum, there's an argument to be made that it's more of a moral gray area. Mm-hmm. So one of his supporters was interviewed outside of the courthouse the other day, and she said that she's a chronically ill person. She lives in chronic pain. And she said even if it were proved that Mangione killed Brian Thompson, she believes his guilt embodies an ethical gray area. The healthcare industry kills thousands, and Thompson was one man. She said, one life versus 1,000 lives. That's the moral dilemma. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
No, she's right. She's 100% right. Mm-hmm. In cases in the United States, you find, especially for mass murder, you don't get this type of, because they always narrow it down to a mental disorder. Yes. But that's unfair. Yes. You can't just blame every mass shooting on a mental disorders. Mm-hmm. It is unfair.
Yeah, they don't parade, and what she said there was right. They don't parade school shooters. They don't put that image on them. You know, you might hear about them once, twice, and you may never remember their name. But Luigi Mangione they're coming after him. They're making it seem like he's this. Especially if he's pleaded not guilty. Let's get that out of the way. Right. He's pleaded not guilty to the 11 state charges filed against him, and he's pleaded not guilty recently to the federal court case that was brought against him, which is what would infer his penalty of death, so his death penalty. Mm-hmm. So because he's pled not guilty to all of this, even if he did do it, it's one murder.
The alleged one murder versus somebody else who would have committed multiple over a space of time. And the fact that this has the potential to be a lengthy case, a lengthy legal battle, I am more or less, I'm interested to see the outcome, but at the same time, I'm on the fence because why is it this point?
Why is it coming to this point?
Yeah. So that comment that the lady made, I 100% agree with it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think, because people were also arguing that we shouldn't be spotlighting murder or celebrating murder.
Yes.
And that's not something, of course, we agree with here. But at the end of the day, he did plead not guilty. And it does provide some sort of ethical gray area. So maybe you can give us your thoughts on that. Do you think that he should be even portrayed this way? Do you think that he should have even been arrested? Do you think he's been given a fair trial? Because it is argued that right now they're making it seem like he is the worst of the worst. And that is what I would argue isn't fair to him. So we're going to stay on top of it. And just to put it out there again, if he is convicted, which they're trying to make it seem like he should be, and it's going to be quick, if they're trying to make it quick, if convicted, he can face the first federal execution in Manhattan in almost 70 years.
Wow.
Do you know how big a case this is for a man that killed one person? Remember on the subway, the story the other day about a man that lit the lady on fire, burnt her, her corpse was like literally burnt, unrecognizable. Unrecognizable. It was absolutely horrendous. He's not facing the death penalty.
No. And the case wasn't even brought to the forefront of the media in this light.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But I think you have to look at the individual, look at who are who is involved in the case itself, you know, and Luigi Mangione, he is a public figure, you know, so.
Well, now he is.
No.
But the killing of a CEO, of course, especially a billionaire, he would friends have, in high places.
Yeah.
Yes. But we are going to keep on top of it, and if you have any comments, anything to add, any suggestions, anything you want us to discuss more about, go ahead and drop it in the comments of our YouTube, Facebook, and website. We're just switching to the second update of the day.
Yes, so a public health emergency is unfolding in Colombia as the country battles a yellow fever outbreak. Health officials are racing to contain the virus as cases continue to rise. So have a look at this.
The last-minute flu vaccination campaign is underway at Bogotá's bus terminals and airports, part of an emergency push to contain the growing yellow fever outbreak. President Gustavo Petro declared a nationwide health emergency after more than 30 people have died recently.
They are warning us that things can get worse, and this is the only way to tackle the disease that can arise. The emergency decree is the only way for the government to communicate that we must comply with the medical issues as soon as possible, so that there are no problems later on, and above all, no deaths.
Health officials say the outbreak began in September and it's proving deadly.
Unfortunately, the number of cases has been increasing. We've already had a total of 74 cases with 34 deaths. Of course, it is lethal and deadly, a disease that affects nearly 50% of those infected.
The government urged people to get vaccinated before traveling for the Easter holidays, especially to warmer regions where mosquitoes are more prevalent. Those heading to high-risk zones must now show proof of vaccination.
I'm getting it for two reasons. First, for personal health, because I'm going to travel, and second, to comply with what the President has told us and be aware that this is everyone's problem.
Yellow fever is a mosquito-borne virus which can cause fever, vomiting, fatigue, or even organ failure. It's endemic in Colombia's jungle regions and largely preventable with a single dose of vaccine that offers lifelong protection. But many here remain unvaccinated. At least 9 of Colombia's 32 departments have reported cases, including areas where the virus hadn't previously been found. Experts link the spread to rising temperatures and shifting climate patterns.
President Petro says he wants everyone vaccinated within 2 months and has also said rapid response teams to study the outbreak and others to deliver the vaccines to remote areas. Authorities also say they could restrict travel to high-risk zones under the emergency, but what worries them the most now is the possible spike in cases in urban areas as Colombians return from vacation. Alessandra Ampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
All right, so the outbreak is primarily concentrated in the Tolima department, which accounts for 59 of the confirmed cases and 23 of the deaths. So there have been 75 confirmed cases and 34 deaths since September of 2024. This is that's a big deal, you know.
It's a developing story.
Yeah.
The Pan American Health Organization has expressed concerns about vaccine hesitancy in Latin America. So just a broader look at what's going on. Latin America, it always tends to have difficulties with rollouts of vaccines. A lot of people aren't, or maybe have some kind of hesitancy or outright against vaccinations. So this is something that it's truly a bigger issue. Yellow fever is one thing. It's dire, but it's not as deadly as, say, other viruses have been in the past. So there's just that barrier with vaccinations in Latin America as a whole.
Yeah, I know the government has initiated vaccination campaigns to help increase the willingness to take these vaccines.
So free vaccinations are available to the citizens and foreign travelers as well at various public health centers across the country, and they're aiming for a 95% immunization coverage to achieve community protection. So we really do hope that they are able to...
Yeah, well, I think they said it has been working. As of mid-April, over 54,000 people have been vaccinated in prioritized municipalities within the containment zones. So it seems to be working, but I guess we do have to hope that more people get vaccinated, because yellow fever is something, it's similar to I believe I could be wrong, it's similar to a common cold, just it does have a bit more strain on the body and symptoms.
Yeah, I feel like I'm glad that they're getting a handle on it now, because remember, it's not just this one thing, it can spiral into other things as well. But I'm glad that they are making this effort towards becoming more just immunized as a society. But we're just going to move straight on to another update that I'm particularly interested in. So, can the U.S. President Donald Trump legally serve a third term in office? Now, the answer, if you were to look directly at the U.S. Constitution, is technically an outright no. But people are finding loopholes, some that may be worth being aware of at the very least. So check this out.
Legal scholars are raising concerns after President Trump said he's considering a third term. The 22nd Amendment explicitly limits a president to 2 elected terms, or 10 years, saying, quote, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. For more on that, let's bring in ABC contributor Kim Whaley, legal expert and professor at the University of Baltimore Law School. So, Kim, that was a lot of words that I just read, but break this down. Is there any wiggle room in here, in the language you see in the Constitution, for President Trump to seek a third term?
Well, Diane, there's always wiggle room for creative lawyers, and I think the argument is that the word elected to 2 terms maximum means literally elected, not served. So the argument he's saying is that he can serve more than 2 terms so long as he's not elected at the top of the ticket. For example, if he is elected as a vice president, J.D. Vance, as president, could resign and he could move to the position of president. That's not being elected. The problem with that is the 12th Amendment says specifically that if someone's ineligible to be president, they cannot be a vice president. But at the end of the day, this doesn't really hinge on what the Constitution says. It's more on, you know, if the Republican Party decides to put him on the ballot on a state-by-state basis, who's going to stop that process? There's no mechanism. If Donald Trump is willing to push the boundaries of the Constitution, if the Republican Party doesn't come in and stop him, I think this is this is feasible. This could actually happen.
Now, many Trump allies, including Steve Bannon, have pointed to the Constitution not using the word consecutive when defining presidential terms. Is that a loophole?
You know, I think that's a pretty weak argument. I mean, it doesn't say anything about it having to be consecutive terms. And if you think about it as well from an originalist standpoint, right, a conservative standpoint, and you think about why do we even have the 22nd Amendment, it was because Franklin Delano Roosevelt served 4 terms in office or was elected 4 times, and people from both parties didn't like that idea. There had been many attempts since the founding of the Constitution to put a cap on presidential terms, and they did that in 1951.
Now, just a few minutes ago, I asked Republican Congressman David Kustoff if he would support Trump serving a third term. He didn't say yes, but he also didn't say no. What happens if the president tries any of these tactics?
Well, that interview I heard, and I think it's good news that he believes it would take a constitutional amendment to allow that. But if he got on the ballot, I don't know that the Supreme Court would kick him off. We saw this in the last election. I believe Section 3 of the 14th Amendment made him ineligible because of January 2021 and the insurrection. But the Supreme Court said, you know, we're not going to stop the Republican Party from choosing who they want to be at the top of the ticket. So with lots of things that are happening with Donald Trump, the question is who is going to stand in the way of what sounds like an extra constitutional agenda here.
All right, Kim Whaley, thank you.
All right. So do we want Donald Trump on the ticket in 2028 in any kind of way? Do we want him?
I don't think that's for us to comment on, really. It's not to say he is so bad. There are people that love him, you know, and I think this discussion can't be one as, do we want him, you know, to run for president in 2028? Is a matter of, can it happen, you know, and as it's in the news story, they spoke about the Constitution being clear. The Constitution is clear in the 22nd Amendment that a person cannot run for a third term.
Yeah.
You know, it's twice. So what I'm trying to understand, though, is how strong are the loopholes?
I mean, at least the Constitution is clear, but the Constitution was also clear about birthright citizenship, which Trump is now challenging. The Constitution was also clear about deportations and immigration policy, which Trump is now challenging. So he can find a loophole for those things. The loophole for him even being elected, as she said, on the Republican ticket, he was supposed to be ineligible, sorry. Yet he's now the president of the United States. So what are the loopholes? Interesting question. As she said, she outlaid the situation where if J.D. Vance was elected as president and Donald Trump somehow found a way to become vice president and J.D. Vance had to exit office for a little bit, Trump would then be the sitting president, but he wouldn't be elected.
That being one of the loopholes.
Yes.
That, to me, it sounds like some crazy master plan. That it doesn't make, ideally it doesn't make sense, but if Trump can, I think if anybody can pull that off, Trump is probably the only person who can pull something like that off.
Right. So this amendment, the 22nd Amendment would block Trump, who at 78 is the oldest person to be elected president in in U.S. history, from running for a third term unless it was repealed. So as she would have introduced there, well, I mean, it being repealed is highly unlikely. But again, we're dealing with something that is very unlikely. But what she introduced, the idea of constitutional reform, which is where I'm guessing is where he would come from during his second term in office, setting the groundwork, because he's already put his supporters in high places. For example, in the Supreme Court, it's people that he would have put there. So he's laying the groundwork for that to possibly maybe a possibility. Do you think that he would want a third term though, just like for kicks and giggles? Do you think he would want a third term?
Yeah, especially if he does not get the outcome that he's looking for in this current term, he will want to extend it.
Do we want? I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about us here in Trinidad. Do you think what do you think our response is to Trump being in office? Because I feel like many people, as you said, many people love him, but also a lot of people criticize him.
Yes. I think here in Trinidad, I find there's a lot of people that are against Trump, and they think that he's an extremist, which he is, but we can't comment on his presidency too much. I don't think we are allowed to.
I think we've experienced his whims and everything.
And we can have a view, we can have an opinion, but to say that him being president is going to affect us in such a way that we have to, you know, have a this or that for him to become president, whether he runs for a third term or he does not, whether he won in this last election or not. You know, it really is not. It's not our ground.
I hear what
to
you're trying to say.
You know?
I hear what you're saying. What I'm trying to get at is if we and just generally, maybe let me as a pointed question to you, but generally as the world. Because again, the U.S. is the hub, as I always say that's where a lot of decisions pass through the U.S. Who the leader of the U.S., the president of the U.S. POTUS, it's an unimaginable force all across the world, not just in North America, it's in South America, it's in Asia, Africa. Whoever is at the helm of the U.S. presidency is very, very important. Do we think that he is doing a good job right now? He has done a good job in the past.
Don't you think it's a little too soon?
Absolutely not. I think we've seen how he has been as a president, as a businessman.
But everything he's doing now, as you said, is kind of laying the groundwork for something. You know, he's laying the groundwork for a bigger plan that he has in store, right? We don't know the outcome. So I still think it's a little too soon. The election was just last year. It's a little too soon for us to say, nah, Trump, the world cannot handle another Trump administration.
I wouldn't go as far to say that, but I would want people to have an opinion on what he's done so far, to say if it makes sense for him or maybe somebody else can take the ticket.
2 or 3 years in, we can comment on whether or not it made sense.
We should have someone come and talk about this, because a lot of people have criticisms of him, but then also, and we have done it before. We've had criticisms and we've also had praise for things that he's done. I think he's. As you said, I'm not going to say anything now, but just to ratify everything we would have discussed, the 22nd Amendment is an absolute limit on service as president, so it is clear that a person cannot be elected to a third term. Absolutely not. That's the word that's used. They cannot be elected to a third term. But whether they can serve a third term through some sort of constitutional loophole is unknown. It's unknown. So we lie in wait to see what may happen.
All right, so moving along. In a major scientific breakthrough, researchers are reporting new advancements in nuclear fusion. The technology, long considered the holy grail of clean energy, tonight we look at what this development could mean for the future of power generation. So let's look at that.
In a laboratory south of Montreal, Canada, scientists are busy trying to build the pathway for a new energy solution. Fuse is a startup on an incredibly tricky mission to commercialise nuclear fusion, and we've been granted exclusive access.
Right here is our assembly area.
Fusion is a process that occurs naturally inside the sun, and it's what powers it. When two atomic nuclei combine, they release energy. Here on Earth, scientists have been trying to recreate that for almost a century, but now, in the midst of trade wars and with our environment hanging in the balance, the race is on.
Unlocking fusion power is going to be technology that, will propel humanity and unlock civilization prosperity for centuries.
The promise? Virtually limitless and more or less clean energy. For the nation that cracks it, energy independence and a windfall of riches.
When you think about SpaceX, they lowered the dollar per kilogram to orbit and increasing the reusability of rockets so they can launch much more frequently. And by doing that, they've unlocked essentially space and made that way more accessible. But for the nuclear industry, this has not happened. So what we're focused on is how do we decrease the cost per radiation and how do we make radiation much more available.
They've built Titan, a pulsed power driver capable of producing lightning in a bottle, the equivalent of 800 strikes at once. Inside there are 476 capacitors and 238 custom-made switches. Fahid was once one of Iran's top nuclear physicists and is now technical lead here.
assembling 40,000 parts is not easy. You miss one part, you're going to lose the project, you're going to fail the project. Titan is the most challengeable project I've ever had. I love it.
And this is Titan.
Whoa. Check that.
Yeah, it's a 1 terawatt. The key innovation here is how do you trigger 238 of those bricks within less than 2 nanosecond delay or jitter between them. And that's kind of our core technology, is being able to build that triggering system.
What's holding you back?
Well, everything is a challenge, right? At first we built the machine, there's no playbook. We're the first to have built it.
May I ask, what age are you?
Yeah, I'm 24. I turn 25 next month.
How have you done this?
Yeah, so I'm still figuring it out, how to do it. You know, essentially growing up, my father was a nuclear physicist. That kind of spurred my passion for understanding how the universe works, and I really wanted to go see it for myself. You know, how can I use my time in the most effective way? And I thought that pursuing fusion as a startup is the fastest and more intellectually honest way to make progress.
Whilst JC may not have decades of experience under his belt, he's convinced some serious industry heavyweights.
I spent 30 years at Los Alamos National Laboratory, where I had the privilege of working on national security programs.
So what attracted you to Fuse?
Clean, abundant energy production not only supports our economy, but it also supports national security, defense capabilities, and the like.
This is our machine shop, so we're able to rapidly prototype or build components. 75% of the cost of Titan is in 3 components, and now we built 2 of them in-house for a fraction of the cost and in a couple of days of lead time instead of months, and in some cases almost a year. So here's the Titan control room. Live feedback on voltage, charge voltage, the checklist, the air delivery system pressure, all of them are software controlled.
Despite efforts here, the rollout of nuclear fusion as a practical solution could still be decades away, according to experts who cite significant scientific and engineering challenges needing to be overcome. But that isn't deterring Fahid.
Are you making history here? We have already made it, so we keep doing that.
And they need to, fast. Billions of dollars are being poured into cracking fusion globally, and competition is close by. Sam Altman-backed Helion just secured $400 million odd for its efforts in its latest funding round. Several countries around the world are also gearing up. China's reactor, dubbed the Artificial Sun, is making massive strides. And in the UK, the Atomic Energy Authority aims to open the world's first fusion power plant by 2040.
Energy security is national security.
And we're very conscious to go all the way to ensure that, you know, this technology stays in the right hands.
Today, they're firing their latest model.
So we'll start ramping up the voltage and testing out how will the machine, you know, perform. We'll see what happens.
They're going through the final checklist preparations before they fire up Titan. My hands are getting sweaty. I don't know why I'm getting nervous.
3, 2, 1.
Will we solve it or not? To be determined. Are we going to make a large contribution in solving this large monumental problem? Yes, we're already doing so.
All right, so for a little bit more explanation as to what is nuclear fusion, that is the process where 2 small atoms, like hydrogen atoms, are smashed together to form a bigger atom. And in the process, a huge amount of energy is released. So it's the same reaction that powers the sun and the stars, and scientists are trying to create this type of fusion on Earth because it could give us nearly unlimited supply of clean energy without producing the dangerous waste that comes from nuclear power plants today. So in short, nuclear fusion is like creating a tiny star on Earth to generate energy.
So all of the energy that we produce comes from basic chemical and physical processes. It's mostly been accomplished throughout history by burning carbon-based material, wood, coal, gas, which we would all know about, or by harnessing power from the sun, wind, and water. But fusion is a physical process, as she said, that produces a massive amount of energy from atoms. So it yields millions of times more energy than other sources through nuclear reaction. So we now being able to dive a little bit into this is kind of groundbreaking, actually.
Yeah.
It's a development that we should be very, very happy about. I was recently watching a video of a scientific influencer that I like to watch, and she and her team created some sort of nuclear fusion reaction in a very controlled environment. But she was so excited to see it because it was actually they took whatever materials needed and made it in a little like Dutch oven, and you got to see the reaction actually happen. I wish I could have shown the video, but it was it's just like a bunch of light, and it was like she said, "That's energy, that's energy."
Yeah.
I imagine that's how God, what's the guy?
Who's that?
Who powered the light? When he first powered the light bulb, first discovered electricity. That's probably how he felt to just see like the light go ah. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison. Please forgive me. But yeah, I think
this is really, really cool. I think it's one step forward to sustainable solutions, which is something that we have been working on for the longest, so many years, to reach. I know it first started with solar powering.
Yes.
When solar powering became a thing, that was also a major deal.
And now it's being used to power homes all over the world, and it's something that is cleaner, it's nicer, it makes you feel better. So I think it's more expensive, but I think if we could tap into these cleaner energy solutions, the world would just be a better place in general, just in general.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good thing. Yeah. So
we'll do one more international story, and then we'll bring it home and have some local things for you.
Some local flavor. All right, so I wanted to talk about something that was actually very, very sweet, a sweet story. It was about a dog. Her name is Valerie, so she is an Australian dachshund. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And she went camping with her owners like 500 years ago and got lost. And the dog is now been finally reunited with her owners. So just check this out.
It has been a rescue or a capture maybe a year and a half in the making, but Valerie, the miniature dachshund, is back in safe hands after being lost or escaping in the Kangaroo Island wilderness for 529 days. Her owners are soon going to make the trip from country New South Wales to South Australia to pick up their pet. Our reporter Daniel Litchens joins us now from Adelaide. Dan, just take us through this story of Valerie and her eventual capture.
Well, James, we weren't sure that she wanted to be caught. It's been 529 days since Valerie did go missing on Kangaroo Island, south of Adelaide, here in South Australia. She went missing on a fishing trip with her owners, Josh and Georgia, and they were devastated when she went missing. They were searching for more than 24 hours, couldn't find her. They had to return back to their home in Broken Hill, heartbroken and expecting a miracle. That miracle has arrived. She's been found safe and well, captured safe and well, I should say. And the owners say they're relieved, deeply relieved and thrilled to have her back in human hands. Now, Kangaroo Island, it is a very popular tourist destination, but it's very harsh wilderness out there, not a lot of human habitation, so it has taken quite a while to find her. She has proven elusive to people out there, but the search did ramp up a couple of weeks ago when Kangala Wildlife Centre, they did get a video of her, they captured her on film, and so they've put in thousands of volunteer hours and driven roughly 5,000 kilometres to try and find her. The guys at Kangala, they do say that it was a bit harder to find her because a few days after she went missing, she went straight into survival mode. Take a listen.
Calling them, having owners come down and walk around and try and find them, calling them, is no benefit. It just does not work. You can actually also make the dog run further. So during the whole time we were doing things with the trapping in mind to make it easier and the transition to be as smooth as possible, and her mental health was one of the biggest components that we were worried about.
So it was the little details that went into this rescue. Kangala, they got Georgie, the owner, to wear a shirt for 24 hours, wear it to netball so it could get her scent on her. Valerie's old toys and bed was even brought over to Kangaroo Island all the way from Albury. So a lot went into this rescue, but she managed to get captured. The guys at Kangala did a great job in getting her safe and sound. She's now decompressing, getting used to human contact again, and the owners will come and pick her up next week from Kangaroo Island. So the holiday might be finished, but the dog days are far from over, James.
Yeah, goodness me. I wonder what the rehabilitation process is like. Dan, thank you.
All right. That story is so heartwarming. I came across this and I was like, because I personally have a dog. I have a Rottweiler. And if I was to just go out and then she went missing, I couldn't find her for so long, I think I would lose my marbles. So then just get a call one day, by the way, like, your dog's been found.
I know the level of excitement in just knowing, I mean, your dog has been missing for over 500 days. At some point after a week, you know, most people lose hope. You're like, oh, well, she's gone. She probably got hit by a car, or, you know, something of these sorts. And 500 days later, you're like, okay, this is 500 days. This is over a year. Yes, yes. You know, in context, this is over a year. Your dog has been missing, and you one day, you know, just get this call and your dog has been found. That is a miracle.
No, it is. It really is. And just to think about like how she survived. Valerie is really a trooper. Yeah. Because a Dachshund is not a large dog.
It's a very small dog with very tiny short legs.
Exactly.
So
it probably came across as like a mini kangaroo. But just some knowledge about Kangaroo Island. It's Australia's third largest island after Tasmania and Melville Island. It lies in the state of South Australia, southwest of Adelaide. Its closest point is to the mainland Snapper Point. So it's pretty large. It's pretty large. And just to think of that dog roaming that large area for how long? First, how long, guys?
I know.
And then being able to make it back to her owners. And I heard adjusting correctly. Surviving, yes.
Finding food.
Yes.
To live. The dog looks healthy.
Very, very healthy, and came back to the owners and adjusted in no time. I'm just surprised he wasn't doing it. I'm surprised he wasn't jumping like a kangaroo.
Oh boy.
That would have been interesting. But yes, kudos to Valerie the Dachshund. So we're actually going to go through another story for you guys, because we have all of these updates we want to share with you to make sure that you are kept informed. So Pope Francis was laid to rest on April 26, 2025. Pope Francis was laid to rest following a solemn funeral at the St. Peter's Square in Vatican City. The ceremony itself drew over 250,000 mourners, including global dignitaries, and of course those who would have been watching online. So take a look at this video.
This morning at St. Peter's Basilica, the faithful lining up to say goodbye. At the center, facing the pews, the coffin carrying Pope Francis, the late pontiff requesting it not be elevated so he could be on the same level with the people he served.
I think the Pope made an impact on the world, and I think his message of peace and tolerance is one that we could all subscribe to.
The long goodbye started early this morning.
In nomine Patris.
American Cardinal Kevin Farrell, known as the Carmelengo, presiding over a moment of prayer inside the chapel of the Santa Marta papal residence. Cardinals filling the rows, some praying for the late Pope as they prepare to choose a successor. Then the procession to the Vatican. Crowds gathered in St. Peter's Square. The public will get 3 days to pay their respects to Pope Francis. So many waiting for that chance.
How long are you guys going to wait?
Until I have to.
As long as it takes. Yeah?
We're believers. We're believers.
The funeral and mass will take place Saturday morning and will be attended by heads of state from around the world, including President Trump and President Zelensky. Prince William will also be there representing the British royal family. And the Vatican now releasing new details about the Pope's final hours. Among his last words, "Thank you for bringing me back to the square." a heartfelt gratitude to his personal healthcare assistant for encouraging him to take one last ride in the Bmobile on Easter Sunday. After that last appearance, he rested, had a quiet dinner, but awoke not feeling well before falling into a coma. The Vatican saying that according to those who were with the Pope, in his final moments, he did not suffer.
And Tom, what is the sentiment and feeling among the people who have come and they want to pay their respects to this Pope?
You know, Savannah, I've had a chance to speak with dozens of people who have been waiting in line. And the thing that really struck me is the impact that Pope Francis had in their lives. These people, as we look at the crowds here in St. Peter's Square, will be waiting hours and hours. They're unclear how long they have to wait just to get a few seconds with Pope Francis. That speaks to his impact. And what you get is that regardless of your relationship with God, the people here believe there is something bigger than this life here. And that's what they want to talk to Pope Francis about. They're also very curious, Savannah. A lot of people here that I spoke to right after they said they're going to pray for Pope Francis, they also asked me that they want to know what's going to happen next, what's going to happen in the conclave, and who will be the next leader of the Catholic Church. Savannah?
All right, Tom, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget you can catch them.
What a lovely legacy to leave behind. So his tomb, it was marked simply with Franciscus. It reflects his lifelong commitment to humility and service. A single white rose adorned the site, symbolizing purity and reverence. As the Catholic Church enters a now period of mourning, preparations are underway for the conclave to elect Pope Francis' successor, and that is expected to convene in May. All right. So we are going to kind of end this segment on a lighter note.
Yes. So it's the Meet the Good News movement. At a time when the world often feels overwhelmed by negativity, the Good News movement is shining a light on inspiring, uplifting stories that remind us of humanity's better side. So have a look at this video.
News today. Good News Movement gives everyone just that. Nearly 6 million followers on Instagram and beyond. Its founder, a journalist and friend of this show, Michelle Figueroa, joins us now. Always makes me smile when we want to see this on the list for the next day. Michelle, so many of the stories that you share highlight the joys of the little everyday moments. And you recently spotlighted this one that we want to show people. A man named Daniel and his daughter. Take a listen.
There's a rainbow outside. I'm picking up Olivia from daycare. I gotta show her. Come on, come on, come on. Here we come. Go out the door. Do you see it? Look, over there in the clouds. I do. You see it?
Okay, amazing. Tell us about this family and its message.
So it's just a sweet moment where the dad's hyping up his daughter, and just the sense of wonderment, Phil, is just a reminder for all of us to step outside and look around at the amazing things there are in life. So just a beautiful, I think one of the most joyful videos I've featured this year.
This day, a rainbow always makes me stop in my tracks. It's just the coolest thing. Let's turn now to this community's clever idea when a local bookstore was moving just across the street. What did they do here?
Amazing how this community in Chelsea, Michigan, over 300 people transferred over 9,000 books under 2 hours. But Phil, it's really not about the books. It's about the community showing up to help. And I mean, this is everything. This is Good News Movement in action, people taking their time to help out. So love to see it. And I hope this kind of inspires a trend of other kind of book chains happening across the country.
Right, and mom and pop bookstores matter. Also, finally, it's always inspiring to see people finish any marathon, specifically the Boston Marathon. It's so difficult. This year, a video you shared that was taken to the finish line has gone viral because of one runner's act of kindness. Tell us about it.
Yes, it's an amazing video. He's another winner of the marathon. Right as he was about to finish, and he had a time of 2:40, he sacrificed his time to help out a guy who collapsed. And I mean, it's just beautiful. And like many people say, you might not remember your time this year, but everyone now is going to know this guy, Pedro's name. So it's just phenomenal. And it's really the spirit of the Boston Marathon, which I live on. I'm actually here on the last part of the marathon. That's where I live. So
yeah, I'm from there as well. I covered it a million times, and it is spectacular. I love to see that, especially someone who's under 3 hours would stop to do that. It's awesome.
Yes, definitely, Phil.
All right, so that was very heartwarming. I mean, good news is something that we need to do more of, especially in media. With everything that goes on around the world, it's always
doom.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I think it's our responsibility as a journalist to bring forth a more nuanced perspective of what's going on. Yes, the bad, but also the good.
It's all about having the balance when reporting. So that was really nice. We are now officially calling an end to the international stories. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. We have a nice little segment on the history of voting in Trinidad and Tobago, seeing as this year marks 100 years since we have been voting.
Yes.
You know, so it's a big one.
It's a big one for you guys to watch. So yeah.
Yeah. So stay with us. We'll be right back with more.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title, it's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
FanZone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really want
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I would ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
right, welcome back to the program this morning. So, jumping straight into a nice little discussion, this year marks 100 years since the first major steps towards voting rights in Trinidad and Tobago, from limited privileges based on property and gender to universal adult suffrage and the strengthening of our democracy. Our voting system has come a long way. So today we're going to reflect on the struggles, milestones, and heroes that shaped our right to vote and continue to build a free and fair electoral system. Before we do have a really lovely video from the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, just highlighting and giving you a little backstory on how far we have come in terms of voting. You know, the first elections under the universal adult suffrage, where all adults could vote, were held in Trinidad and Tobago in 1946. Since then, the country has worked to improve its voting system, guided by the Constitution and the Representation of the People's Act. And then we would also look at, for those of us that don't know the Representation of the People Act, this is a law that sets the rules for how elections are organized and conducted. And it also makes sure that elections are free, fair, and orderly, right? We're also going to look at what is a franchise. The word franchise comes from the French and German words meaning free. You'd find that word a lot when discussing voting rights and elections. It involves the right to vote. So when the word is used, it means or it represents the right to vote.
So when we say exercise your franchise, it means go vote, guys.
Exercise your right to vote. It's your civil duty. So we're going to take a look at this video now, and we'll come back and discuss it some more with you.
February 7th, 2025 marks 100 years since the first general election was held in Trinidad and Tobago. Though conditions of eligibility resulted in only 6% of the population being able to cast their ballots in the 1925 general election, this was the first time the people of the nation had a chance to have representation of their choosing on the Legislative Council, which predates the Parliament. The voting privilege was only made available to persons who owned property in their constituency valued at $60 or more, or those who owned property outside of their constituency valued at $48 or more. Male voters had to be aged 21 or older, while female voters had to be aged 30 or older. Additionally, voters had to be able to prove that they understood spoken English, so this eliminated a large section of the population which still spoke Hindi. Before the elections of 1925, it was the British governor who appointed all 26 members of the Legislative Council. It was the activism of the labor movement during the 1920s that pressured the then government to include elected members to the council. In 1922, the British government sent British Major E.F.L. Wood to investigate Trinidad and Tobago's preparedness for self-government. Following Wood's recommendations, the Legislative Council was reorganized to allow 7 out of 26 seats to be elected by the people of Trinidad and Tobago, a move that was welcomed by organizations like the Trinidad Working Men's Association and the Legislative Reform Committee. The results of the 1925 general election were divided by these 7 seats. Port of Spain, Captain Andrew Cipriani. St. Andrew, Nariva Mayaro, Charles Henry Pear. Victoria, T.M. Kelshaw. St. Patrick, E. Radcliffe. St. George, Albert Victor Stallmeyer. Caroni, Saran Tilak Singh. Tobago, James Alexander Bigart. In welcoming the country's first elected members to the Legislative Council after the election, Governor His Excellency Sir Horace Archer Bayat said the development represented the consummation of a change which His Majesty has been graciously pleased to approve, giving to the public the right of choosing its own representatives to fill a proportion of the seats on this council, and thus fulfilling a long-expressed desire. Governor Bayat assured the new members that their views will always meet with the courteous attention that they deserve. It would take another 21 years for Trinidad and Tobago to achieve universal adult suffrage in July 1946, when all citizens over the age of 21 were allowed to vote without restrictions. And with a general election due in 2025, we asked persons how they felt about having the privilege to vote.
The right to vote, I think, is a privilege bestowed on people in part of the world. Some countries don't have it. Some countries have anarchy, have various dictators, you know. It's a joy, providing that the electoral system after is as genuine as it should be, as compared to like Venezuela and other countries, you know?
It's good because everybody have a chance to make a choice of their own, so it's a good thing. Years ago, I used to vote, and now I don't feel I want to vote. I'm telling you the honest truth, because I'm just not satisfied. So people who just say they don't want to vote, I don't have a problem with them, because I feel the same way.
Well, I'm glad that, you know, that as a female, I'm able to vote because it gives me a choice, it gives me a voice. So I'm glad about it, and I thank God for it.
With regards to 100 years ago and now, I would say it's a clear advantage that more persons are able to, you know, make an input on with regards to voting and stuff like that, because we need more people to share their experience living in our country. So the more persons, given more persons the ability to vote actually will make a difference with the persons we put in power. And then we of course, the more of us, we will have to hold them accountable. And I feel like accountability is something that we really need to take into respect with what's happening nowadays.
I believe we have reached a far way of people be having the right to vote. And people, right now, I believe people don't understand the importance of people of your vote. I believe it's the right to vote. And we have reached a long, long way from 100 years to now. So I just want to encourage other people to study the other things. Do the right thing, because people die for you to have the right to vote.
Voting is perhaps one of the most patriotic and important things that any citizen can do, to let their voice be known for what values they have, what future they want for the country, and how they play a role in effecting change. Participating in a democracy, having the right to vote is just one of those things that you need. So voting allows you, like I said, to express yourself in a way that those in power have to listen to.
This is 100 years since the first time that people in Trinidad and Tobago, even if not everybody, have had the right to vote. I think the right to vote for Trinidadians and Tobagonians is something not to be taken for granted, because I think it is part of a legacy or a track record that many people are not aware of, but of how fabulously well we have done since independence. We were democratic before a lot of other larger countries ever even knew the meaning of that word. So I really feel that this is something that we have achieved, and it's for that reason why Dr. Williams said on Independence Day, the first one, he said the first responsibility that devolves upon you as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago is to protect your democracy. So we need to vote because we have a really good thing going here. We are doing much better than anybody could ever have expected, even though we may not think so, and we need to keep that momentum going.
I believe that, one, personal impact. You are able to shape your world, shape your community, shape your country, and even the international arena through casting your vote, staining your finger, letting your voice be heard, letting your opinions be heard, and telling the government this is what we want to see for our future. Beyond that, it's also a way to honor the people who fought for democracy. As a political science student, I like to think about the electorate versus the general population. And voting is the bridge between those two definitions. So as the everyday man, you're walking around, yes, you're a part of our population, you're a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. But being a part of the electorate, being one of the persons who register and then share their opinion through a vote, gives you a different level of power, a different voice. And I think that's so important, again, in shaping how we want Trinidad and Tobago to look.
Why is it important to vote? Look at it this way. If you don't vote, you can't complain. You don't have a say, right? In many places, people fought to have that ability to vote. And over here, we have the privilege to vote, and it's very important to go and exercise your civic duty. And one of my pet peeves, I should say, is that I believe that civic mindedness should be taught from primary school. It is very important to be engaged in the running of your country, because we are the ones who put these persons in power, and we are the ones to make sure that they are accountable for, how the money is spent and for the services that they provide to us.
Whoever was responsible for dismantling that barrier to afford me the privilege to be part of a national decision-making process that could affect my life, and not only my life, my family's, my children's life, 5 years and more, because whatever decision is taken or decisions are taken during that, it might be a 5-year process, it has far-reaching consequences. So the ability to vote, it's almost sacred.
Okay, so some quick facts that we were able to take out of that video. We have the major milestones would have been 1928. Women aged 21 plus were granted the right to vote, so the age bracket would have dropped from 30 to now 21. In 1945, universal adult suffrage granted. All adults 21 plus could vote. So this is now where it doesn't matter whether you own property or not. Once you're 21 and over, you have, and you're a citizen, you could vote. 1946 was the first general election under universal adult suffrage, and then 1976, the voting age lowered to 18 with the new constitution. So that is where we are at now, which I think we should all be grateful for, because now, the age bracket was lowered, and it kind of gives us, a chance to step into having that say,
yes.
From a younger age.
I don't think people realize just how important, but also significant your rights to vote is, because at a point in time, honestly, it's not that long ago, you really couldn't. You really couldn't, and it's choices and decisions that impacted your everyday life was made for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it wasn't. It wasn't desirable. Things could happen to you. You couldn't do anything about it because it was illegal. Now your vote has the ability to change that
to make a difference. And the thing is that I think a lot of people think about it in a sense that, what is my vote going to do? It's one vote compared to what you think the rest of the population would vote for, but it doesn't matter. You have to study what you want to see for your country. Go ahead and make that change. Put your vote in and see what happens. Even if it doesn't go in your favor, you can't be you can't be vexed. At least you did your part, you know, and then you could have something to say. Then you could comment on what's going, because if you don't vote, you have no right commenting on, you know, on the mishaps or on the bad governing in the next 5 years, because you didn't even go and vote. You didn't go and vote to change anything. You had no say in anything that happened.
Yeah, so I just a larger look at it is that it's your contribution to governance in general. So even if as you said, it doesn't go your way, your party doesn't win, your vote, it contributes to a ratio. So if the party that won, your vote didn't go to them, your vote went to somebody else. So it lets them know, hey, the winning margin I had before, I don't have anymore. I'm doing something wrong. I need to step up. I need to it calls on people to come out and do what it is they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
So your vote does hold power, even if it didn't elect the person you wanted to
and
be
then
in power.
it also shows that there is a group that is rooting for a particular party.
Yes.
You know, it lets that party know, okay, in the next elections, the party that doesn't win, if you voted for a party that did not win, okay, in the next elections, let's step up. Let's see what we can do, because we have the support from a certain part of a community, of the population, you know.
So your vote matters. It means something. And it's not just a direct outcome to if they win or not. That's a very baseline thinking of it. It's very shallow thinking that you can have. If it's just, I mean, that's the biggest thing, yes. But your vote matters. It counts as more than just whoever wins or not. Okay. So go out there, stay in your finger, and exercise your franchise to vote. It is way more important than you think. Because again, as she said, if you over the course of the next 5 years, disagree with something that happened in government, or would have wanted somebody who said something that's in whatever the opposition said, you would have agreed with them. You didn't elect them. You didn't do anything to change that. You can't say anything because you didn't do anything. Don't be the person that doesn't do anything but has the most to complain about.
Yeah, and if your thought process could be, what's my vote going to do? It's one vote. I don't need to vote. I don't feel to go and vote. Then it clearly doesn't matter to you, right? So
Sunday could fall on a Monday and you wouldn't care.
And then you could just go and vote. You know, if it really doesn't matter, just what's the difference with going to vote? If you don't think that your vote will make a difference, why not just do it and see what happens? You know, it's not gonna affect you if that's the way you're thinking. Then just go on and stay in your finger and vote.
And those around, those people who agree with that voting is a good thing, and you know that you're going out there, encourage your family members, encourage your community to go out and do the same as you and exercise their right to vote. It is the basic right that you're entitled to, and everyone should exercise it as best as possible, because not even everyone gets to do it. There are parts of the population that they don't get that opportunity. So you are now their spokesperson. People who are mentally debilitated, you are now their spokesperson. You want a person that's going to make changes to certain mental health laws, to advocate for them. Then vote those persons in. Advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves. That is what your vote does. So please, go vote.
Yeah. All right. So did we have some fun facts?
Just something I had come across the other day, that in ancient Greece, the concept of democracy and elections originated around 5th century BCE. So citizens of Athens would gather to vote on various issues. So just the concept of how democracy came into being. Because it's really weird how we decided this is the best course of action, or this is the most fair course of action. And where everybody comes together and says, okay, this is what we want. Because technically democracy takes a while. It's a lengthy process, but it's still considered the best process.
Yeah.
So it's just a little fun fact that the concept of democracy started in ancient Greece. And the first modern election resembling what it is we do now is often considered to be the United States presidential election, where George Washington was elected as the first president of the United States after the war. So yeah, that's some little fun facts of where it started and where we are now. The different systems, first past the post, secret ballots, proportional representation, all of these different systems that you can read up on. You can get an idea of how they do it around the world. But I just found it was also something fun to know about.
That's nice. That's interesting.
The
whole concept of democracy itself, to me, is incredible, and we are so blessed. First of all, to be a country that practices that level of leadership. So we can't take it for granted, and by not going and practicing our civil duty to vote, we are taking it for granted.
We have it
unfortunately.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We have it. You won't believe the amount of countries that don't have access to this right. We have it nicer than we think. I'm not saying everything is perfect. Do not think that's what I'm saying. But we have it real nice. So for you to say, I'm not going to vote, that's a very privileged response. It's a very privileged response. So go and vote. Go and vote.
So we're going to switch a little now as we're talking about voting. If you do not know how to vote, if this is your first time being able to vote, or this is your first time voting, then we have a short video from the EBC, that's the Elections and Boundaries Commission, just letting us know how to go about voting today. So have a look.
To vote is simple. The Elections and Boundaries Commission advises that before Election Day, you should receive your poll card in the mail. Open it to find the address of your polling station. Keep the poll card safe and take it with you on Election Day. If you did not receive your poll card in the mail, you can still vote. A poll card will be prepared for you at your polling station. You can also visit the EBC's website at www.ebctt.com or call the hotline at 785-8206 or 785-8211 to find your polling station. On Election Day, you should check the list posted outside your polling station for your name and number. Where there are several polling stations on the same compound, an information officer will direct you to your polling station. Polling agents who act on behalf of candidates are there to witness the process. If your name is on the list of electors and you have a valid ID card, you join the green line. All other persons, including physically incapacitated, blind or visually impaired persons, should join the red line. You are required to sign your poll card in front of the poll clerk. The deputy presiding officer examines your hands and fingers. If there is no evidence of electoral ink stains, you're issued a ballot paper. The deputy presiding officer also demonstrates how to mark and fold a ballot paper using the guidance ballot and how to vote with the X stamp. The ballot paper is folded to display the initials of the deputy presiding officer and the polling station number. A blind, visually impaired or physically incapacitated person is allowed to vote with the assistance of a companion. In the privacy of the voting booth, you vote by placing an X at the right of your candidate's symbol. If you make a mark other than an X, your ballot will be rejected and not counted. Fold your ballot paper as you were previously shown by the deputy presiding officer and proceed to the officer in charge of the ballot box. Display your folded ballot paper with the initials of the deputy presiding officer and polling station number. You will then be required to dip your finger in the electoral ink before you are allowed to place your ballot paper in the ballot box. If you refuse to dip your finger in the electoral ink, you will not be allowed to vote. When you've finished with this process, wipe off the excess ink. Any problem you encounter in the polling station should be brought to the attention of the presiding officer. To vote is your right. Exercise it. A message from the Elections and Boundaries Commission, your partners in democracy.
All right, so that was the Elections and Boundaries Commission on how to vote. So if you haven't already, because voting started quite early this morning at most most areas. So if you haven't already and you are planning to, that was a quick video on how to go about it. So yeah, some people have not gotten polling cards, but as video said, if you haven't got your polling card, it's okay. You can still go down to the polling stations and vote.
And if you don't know where to go, you can always go on the EBC's website, type in your name, and it'll give you the information for your registration and where it is you can go vote. So again, it is Election Day, April 28th. We have so much planned for you during the course of today here on WESNCC. We've got updates, live updates, panel discussions, live reporting, all of that to make sure that you are kept fully informed of what is taking place today.
Yeah. We have an amazing panel discussion that will be live later tonight on the station with Sean Michael Small and Andy Johnson co-hosting together.
So stay tuned for all of that. So that ends our show for today. Happy Monday, and a reminder to go out and vote. If you haven't already, remember to live your life with purpose, and as usual, we like to leave you with a quote to propel your day into greatness. This one is by our own Dr. Eric Williams. It reads, "Democracy finally rests on a higher power than Parliament. It rests on an informed and cultivated and alert public opinion. The members of Parliament are only representatives of the citizens. They cannot represent apathy and indifference. They can play the part allotted to them only if they represent intelligence and public spiritness."
Well said.
Well said, Dr.
Well said, and very timely. Very timely for today. So that's all for AM Prime this morning. Please be safe, go out and vote, and stay inspired, stay
safe.
Stay safe. And we'll see you back here again another day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
WESN.
Hi, I'm Claudette, radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear